Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're diving into a genuinely fascinating concept from a foundational text called The Foundations of Human Resilience. And instead of just kind of skimming through pages and pages of data, we're actually going to do something a bit different. We are going to put a single, profoundly loaded sentence from this text right under the microscope. We really want to see what it reveals about human nature. Okay, let's dive right into this. What does it really mean to be resilient? I mean, we throw that word around a lot, don't we? We tell our friends or colleagues to just be resilient when they're having a brutal week or facing some major setback. But I think we often confuse it with simply surviving. We kind of think it just means enduring a difficult period, white-knuckling the steering wheel, and breathing this massive sigh of relief when it's finally over. But actually, our source text challenges that preconceived notion entirely.
It gives us this really fascinating definition. Quote, resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity and perform better even in the face of stress and challenges. I want you to just let that entire sentence sink in for a second, because that right there, that is exactly what we are going to be analyzing today.
See, this isn't just some motivational poster quote. You really have to consider this as a precise formula. So let's meticulously deconstruct the sentence together. We're going to break it down into its core components so we can truly understand the actual mechanics of human resilience. Right, so let's start with the first half of that idea, bouncing back from adversity. Now, this is entirely valid. It perfectly captures the traditional baseline understanding of resilience that, honestly, most of us hold. The general consensus is just that, when you get knocked down, you stand back up. You survive the tough time. It's like a storm hits, the tree bends in the wind, but it doesn't snap, right? And eventually, it stands tall again. That is bouncing back. And getting back to baseline is absolutely crucial. But according to our source material, it's really only half the story. Now, what's really interesting here is how we often think that baseline, just bouncing back, is the finish line. That's the myth. We absorb the impact and we just think, phew, job done. The reality required by our text, though, is much, much more demanding. It's about performing better under stress. It is an active upgrade. The initial bounce back, that's just the setup. The performance upgrade is where the real breakthrough happens. It really all comes down to two simple words: perform better. And wow, this completely shifts the paradigm. True resilience is not a return to the status quo. It's not just getting back to zero after being stuck in the negative. It means finding a completely new gear. It literally means that the friction, the difficulty, the very adversity that was supposedly there to break you is actually the catalyst that causes you to elevate your game. You don't just survive. You are actively upgrading your own capacity. And this brilliantly illustrates how that single sentence actually outlines a distinct, sequential two-step process. Step one is your recovery phase, right? You face adversity and you bounce back. You stabilize yourself. But, and this is key, you absolutely cannot stop there. Step two is the evolution phase. You face stress and you perform better. You absorb the shock, you find your footing, and then you accelerate way beyond where you were before the challenge even began. So the crucial point is right here in the final clause, even in the face of stress and challenges. Listen, it's one thing to recover and experience growth after the storm has safely passed and the skies are clear. But the true differentiator, the ultimate hallmark of human resilience, is maintaining this growth while you are actively under pressure. It is performing better right in the middle of the fire, not just in the calm that follows it. Which brings us to the ultimate question. When adversity strikes, will you just bounce back? Or will you perform better? The source material gives us a pretty profound mandate here. True resilience is not just surviving, it is an evolution. Keep that in mind the very next time you're facing a tough challenge. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I genuinely hope this empowers you to go out there and find that next gear.